Good morning. I am Konika Wong, the founder of Girl Power Science. And today we are going live with Darina from the Nurtured Seedling. So I'm just going to invite, hello. Okay, view request. It's been a while since I've gone on a live. Yes, go live. Yes, we have a really amazing event coming up. And a lot of parents have questions all about the timing. Hello!
Is,
It,
is it working?
it, it was meant to be.
Perfect.
Can
Fun.
you hear me okay? Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Awesome. So
Perfect.
I was just saying that, so I just introduced myself briefly, and that I'm just so excited about the event coming up.
Yeah. I think we'll give people just a couple minutes to join and then we'll talk a little bit more about it and why we're here today.
Awesome.
Great.
It's so nice to have the sunshine out. The
I
storms were,
was gonna say, but it's
I
cold.
haven't gone out yet, but
It's really cold. I don't know if your daughter went through this, but my child she's like in a no jacket phase. And so I don't understand how she's not like freezing.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I'm
right. My daughter is in seventh grade, and I know you've probably seen this all over social media, but the obsession is like Lululemon, Sephora. She doesn't like wear the makeup. They go into the store with their friends and they just
yeah.
browse. And then they put a little lip gloss. Well, at least a little lip gloss. But the Lululemon thing is these jackets that are so thin. And so it's not really a jacket. It's just like kind of like yoga pant material.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at least it's a layer. My creator's like in long sleeve shirt, and she thinks that that's perfectly appropriate for February. But that's
Yeah.
cool.
All right.
So let's jump in.
Let's do it.
Hi, whoever's on. Welcome. I am Darina from the Nurtured Seedling, and we're really excited to do this live. The reason why we're doing this is because we have gotten so many questions about this puberty event we have coming up on March 2nd, along with Girl Power Science. And so we thought we would just do a live and really go through these questions and have Konika really address them. I have some of these questions myself as a mom of a second grader. And so I think we'll just kind of dive into them. But a little bit about the event is on March 2nd. It's part of our Garden to Table series. So the event is going to be for moms and daughters, and there will be obviously connection and a time to have that bonding. Then the girls will have a chance to meet with Konika and have a class around periods. So that's really the focus of this particular one. And then meanwhile, the moms will be doing some seasonal cooking in the garden, where this is hot off the press, but we're making preserved lemons in little jars. So that's what the moms are going to get to do. And then we'll sort of switch, and the moms will meet with Konika and talk about their experiences and learn about different strategies and recommendations to really support their daughters in this very important phase of growth. And then the daughters will be in the garden with us cooking. So it's going to be a really hands-on, really fun event again on March 2nd. And so, of course, we have Konika Wong from Girl Power Science. And can you start talking a little bit about what your mission is, what you do, and then we'll jump into the
Sure.
questions.
Preserved lemons. That's exciting. My husband makes a really yummy dish with preserved lemons. So
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
Our mission at Girl Power Science is to build body confidence by celebrating growth. And so the official typed up thing is empowering girls to navigate puberty with confidence. But more and more we're realizing that this conversation of puberty, that it's it's completely shifted. The narrative has shifted since it's starting so much earlier these days. And that actually, the earlier we start these conversations, the more we build confidence. There's a lot of anxiety around the unknown, and kids hear about a lot of these changes. Just movies, books, friends, comparing themselves, like who's getting really tall and who's getting really short. And so, yeah, it's not the usual when you and I think of puberty, what the kids are learning as puberty is totally different.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a little scary, I have to say, as a mom with a second grade daughter. She's 7, and it's real. It's definitely real. So I'm so glad to have you and to have met you and be partnering with you. And this is so important to us as well. Um, the first question that I really want to ask is, we get this all the time, and I'm really curious about this as well, is, you always mention that girls are starting their periods a lot younger. I started when I was 12, which is at the time was like really common, right? And so a lot of the moms that I talk to, they're like, well, I started at 12, so we have plenty of time. So can you address that? Like, is it partially genetic, and like, why is it earlier, and what does that look like?
Yeah, so periods are starting between the ages of 8 and 15, which is such a wide window, I know. The average age is still 12, 12.5. And the age is decreasing through generations. So while there is a genetic component, just to give you an example, in my family, my mom started her period when she was 14. I was 12, just like you. My daughter was 10. So, we see this decrease. But I think also they hear about it prior. And so whether we're talking about early bloomers or late bloomers, it's really beneficial in decreasing anxiety to have a long on ramp. So a lot of times parents will call me and they say, I think she's going to start her period like next week. Can we book this workshop this weekend? Or I do get parents that are like, I wish, this is my book that I published that's for ages 4 and up. And why? I have parents that are just like, oh, she started her period in 4th grade. I so wish I had come across your book earlier. But we all know, just as human beings, that the unknown causes anxiety. And that as parents, we have that anxiety, and our kids can vibe that. So whether you think you have an early bloomer or a late bloomer, the earlier we start these conversations, the more excited they actually get to celebrate growth. They have so much more curiosity when they're younger. And so this all got sparked actually when one of my second graders in my classroom came in and said, Miss Ray, I think that I have breast cancer. And I said, well, what makes you think that? And I could just feel how much anxiety she had. She felt a lump on one side of her chest. And that was when I dropped everything and started teaching my puberty unit actually to second graders. But the cool discovery was that they were so excited because we were defining the puberty narrative before they, read books or watched movies, like the movie Turning Red. It's quite a dramatic scene when the mom thinks she started her period. And so by teaching it starting in second grade, I had the chance to, really shift the narrative and flip puberty positive.
Yeah, I love that. So, I mentioned I have a 7-year-old, and, she comes home one day and she's like, Mama, somebody told me that you get your period once a year. And I was like, honey, no, it's once a month. And it's like, they are definitely getting, it was really cute, but they're getting like a lot of misinformation. And, at the same time, I'm very open about it. Obviously, I've learned a lot from you and sort of how to address it. And we talk about it, and we've like, I really sort of follow what she's asking, but I'm all like, I give a little bit more. That being said, at like 7.5, I do not think she's ready for this class. I think next year would be so much better. So can you talk a little bit about like what type of signs, and that's just because I know my child, but the interest is there, but it's not like I think this would like go over her head. So what type of signs should parents look for to know that they're ready for this particular class? And then maybe you could also two-part question, talk a little bit about the You Grow Girl class, which we've hosted in the past with you, and then we'd love to do that again.
Yes. So because our generation as moms, we learned about puberty sort of as a laundry list of, you're going to have acne and you're going to have all of this. The signs, you just said the sign right there. Parents know their kids. Mm-hmm. And so trusting, actually all of our through line at GPS is about body literacy, listening to our bodies and trusting our gut. And so as parents, and you've seen even in your garden, we had one really little one join, and she was so curious, and she was right there, trying to write those questions to put in the curiosity box, and having, a challenge to even write it. She was so young. But what I do find is, parents do wonder about that age range, but that parents know. And so when that parent sends the younger kid or, the older, and by the way, too, sometimes parents think she's going to be a late bloomer, so I'm going to put this off. But the thing is that when we're talking about proactively building body confidence, they're comparing bodies. And when they're a late bloomer, they're seeing all these kids get so much taller all around them, and that can cause insecurity. So normalizing the variety of timelines really, really helps to build confidence and decrease anxiety. And also, actually, I prefer not to use the term late bloomer or early bloomer. I like to have more neutrality around it and, say that some kids will be younger and some will be older. But saying early and late already can produce anxiety for kids. Sometimes kids come to my workshops and they say, my mom says I'm going to be a really, early or late bloomer. And you can tell they're embodying that, and they've had some anxiety around what does that going to look like for me? So without labeling early or late, we can just normalize the whole human life cycle, really.
Yeah, I love that. So this was not a question that I prepped for you, but I was just wondering. So for example, my daughter's really tall, right? And at the same time, like emotionally, social emotional, she's 7.5, but I would say she's in second grade and she's like barely 7.5. So I just, I'm like, well, is she ready? We've definitely talked a lot about breast buds, and that's a thing that we're already dealing with. But does that mean, is that a sign, right, that this would be a good time? Or like I'm scared to miss it and be like, oh, like now we're too late.
Yeah.
Or like the social emotional, or do we look at the physical?
Yeah. Timing is critical. And so the way that I have laid out my workshops, sometimes I call this workshop You Grow Girl. And lately I've made You Grow Girl kind of the overarching, really all of this is celebrating growth. So I call it Puberty Power, also for parents to be really clear. So there's Puberty Power and there's the Flow class, which is about periods. And in my 22 decades, 20 years of being a teacher, the timing that I have perfected is second grade is the perfect time for Puberty Power, where we talk about breast buds, we talk about growth spurts, we're normalizing the mood swings and the friendship drama that can start to happen. And then third grade and upward is perfect for the event that we're having in the garden. But it's never too early, and parents know best ultimately. So no matter what, you can never really go wrong with any of this stuff. But if you wanted to fine tune it, then Puberty Power, also known in the past as You Grow Girl, is perfect for second grade and up, and the period workshop for third grade and up. And the reason is actually that we are really meeting the needs of some of these kids that may start their period any day now. And so we are getting into more of the period products. So this book that's for ages 4 and up does not actually get into period management. So it's a perfect introduction. You mentioned that your daughter came home and, mentioned periods. So reading this book together is it's a great intro. Now the event we're having in March at the garden, we're going to really be getting into here's what period underwear looks like. And these are tampons. And, there's the practical element to it, because of course, if we want to decrease anxiety, then being prepared really helps. So, and then the other question that parents ask is, am I too late? And it's never too late. So, if periods are starting between the ages of 8 to 13, clearly there's a wide range. And some kids actually, they've started their period and they come to the workshop and it becomes normalized, because we aren't having conversations like this like all the time, and so no matter what, everyone benefits.
Thank you. Yeah. For this one so far, we have a wide range of girls signed up. We have second graders who are just barely turning 8. We have in the past have had brand new 7-year-olds as well. I think we actually even had one that was like just about to turn 7. She was super interested. And then we have also, when we did this event in the past, we have had girls who had started their period just recently, and they were like, had a little bit more knowledge, but still were really into all the things. So for this particular one, anyone that's watching who's kind of on the fence and is wondering, we have a range already. So we have sort of from like the 7.5 to, I believe we have a couple that are 10. So not quite the 11, but right in the middle there. So another question for you is, the question that I often get to is like the urgency, right? Like it's about to start. Like I know it. I know it's going to be like next month. And so if someone's not able to make it to this workshop, or just timing wise, they're like, well, like what do we do now? And they have that urgency. What are some of your favorite resources when they're feeling that need immediately? What are some of your favorite resources that you would recommend?
Yeah, so I already mentioned the book. That's a great start. And then I offer parent education workshops as well. And so that helps just so that parents are having the same common language. One of my favorite podcasts is the Puberty podcast with Dr. Cara, Natterson, and Vanessa, Kroll, Bennett. And they just put out a book called This Is So Awkward. So that's a great book for parents too. We need more updated resources. That things have shifted so much, but the data and the research is still slow to come on board. And so for those of us that are innovators on the cutting edge, it's really through just our experience, like in my career of teaching at a girls' school, for so long, and talking to other parents. So I would say those are great places to start. The Puberty podcast. Pick up this book, One in a Million. My daughter and I are actually working on a whole series. So the next one coming out is going to be about puberty for the younger kids. But yeah. And then there is an organization called amaze.org that has short videos. Those are updated. It's like I said, it's hard for me to find updated material. But they're cute little videos. Definitely screen before you show, because sometimes you are surprised that you weren't quite ready to talk about that particular thing. But they're really short, so it's easy for our parents to screen first and then share.
Yeah, I love that. And then on a very practical sense as well, I always think about that sweet story where we had one of the moms that was like, when I got my period, my dad went out and like to the store and bought every product available and was like so happy and tried all these things. But, that's not always like, we're not going to go out and buy. I mean, maybe someone will, but do you have any, and a lot of the things are really like not designed for this age, like the pads are too big or like whatever, right? It's not really practical, and it can be really intimidating. Do you have any favorite products or things that would be nice to kind of have on hand when that urgency is there and they're like, it's about to start, and we kind of like, it's nice to have in the house? What would you recommend?
So the one pad that is actually, so these two moms measured kids' underwear and actually like designed it to match into the gusset. The brand is called Pinky Pads. And the other thing that the moms did was put them in little pouches versus like the plastic that you have to unwrap. And during our workshops, you've seen during the pad lab, the kids open up a pad, and sometimes you do see them struggle. And just that moment, we want that moment to be empowering and not, continuing to have them worry about everything. And so it's called Pinky Pads. They're at some Targets. I haven't seen them at the Target that's like up the street, but and they fit perfectly. And the kids really at the workshops enjoy it because it comes in a little pouch, and so you can throw away the next one in the little pouch that has a little string. Um, and period underwear is so popular with kids. There are so many brands out there, and I don't recommend brands because it's so personal what feels comfortable to kids. But you really can't go wrong by picking up. On my website, I have a list, a resource with non-toxic brands. So definitely start. I like to start there with the non-toxic brands, but there are still several options. It's just nice to have a pair of period underwear on hand. The thing is that when cycles first start, they're really irregular. And so period underwear it feels just as comfortable as regular underwear, and alleviates a lot of that anxiety.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember you mentioning that, if they're like in a bathroom stall, elementary school, middle school, whatever, like opening up that crinkly thing, like sometimes it's really intimidating if you're, like one of the first kids, or just, I mean, just really anyone. So I love these little like tips and tricks that you always share in the classes of like, this is like a way that you can sort of make it feel more comfortable for you. And here's a strategy around that. So I love that. And I'm really excited about it.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you would add about this upcoming class, or just getting parents, prepared to support their daughters?
Well, I mean, I think just in terms of, this whole going back to building body confidence, celebrating growth, right? That the garden is just such a beautiful place that when you enter at the nurtured seedling, immediately, you feel calm. And that's really the whole point of the mission, right? We want to just normalize this and connect it with nature, really, that we are mammals and that we have life cycles just like that seed that sprouts, and so that's the beautiful thing, that why I like to come back, and as well as both of our missions to build community is so needed right now. Like you mentioned, a lot of these shifts are scary in terms of just exposure to social media, conversations they have with their friends prior to when we were ready to define the narrative. And so that's what I really, really love about all of this work, is this opportunity to build community and talk about all of this
Yeah.
stuff together.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're really excited. And as you know, the garden's really a retreat, right? And it's, you walk in those gates and you're really in a safe space, right? And I think like at first it takes a little while for people to kind of feel comfortable, but then they open up, and I feel like even the most sort of timid, reserved kids are the ones that are like sharing and asking questions. And I think that it's just a really comfortable, safe space that we both create. That's really important for us, especially during these types of classes where it could be a little bit more sensitive, so normalizing it, but making it feel safe for
Exactly.
girls and parents to talk about. I have one
Yeah.
final question for you. I had before was, so, this is really designed for moms and daughters, but it could really be for any
Yeah.
adult that is close to, like, it could be a dad, right?
Yeah.
It could be if an aunt is close or whatever it is. But I think just having that person that's supportive. What have you seen in your past classes? Like, has it predominantly been moms? Has it been a mix? I know you just did a one for dads and daughters, which was
Yeah. We get a whole variety. The curriculum is inclusive. I recently brought it to Children's Day School, and realized when I was training the teachers that the curriculum is so inclusive it doesn't really need to be changed. When we have the workshops that are all girls, we're still really meeting the needs of gender expansive youth. I mean, gender is a spectrum, and so yes, we get quite a bar. The dad one was so fun, actually, because they didn't have any shame around it, and so the girls were really empowered seeing
I
that.
love that. I love your comment about one girl was like, I want to talk to my dad about this more than my mom, which is really, I mean, I think that's
Yeah.
wonderful. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
So I think that's all we have. We're so excited to do this on March 2nd. I will provide all the information that you just mentioned, all the resources and books and everything, and I'll make sure that that's available for folks to access. And if they're not able to make it, just at least they have some resources and then your website and everything. But again, March 2nd, and I'll link it so that everyone can access. We do have obviously some spots available, but they are going fast. So we hope to see everyone, and I think that's it. Do you have anything else to add?
Awesome. No, I'm just sitting here thinking, like, how do I stop this and save it now?
Yeah.
Hopefully I'll do that right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't wait. It was wonderful to talk to you.
You too. See you soon. Thanks.
Okay, bye.